Go ahead, Theo.
Yeah, so thanks for introduction. Yeah, I voluntarily chose a provoking title for this little talk um, because I think sometimes people said, okay, Li-Fi it's the past because we are talking about Li-Fi since many years, but we don't have any widespread use for the moment. So it means that maybe there won't be any use of Li-Fi in a widespread use in the future. So maybe that's why I also try to talk about this. But of course, I think that if we are here, we think that it's a technology of the future. Well, so just for discussing, so 3 points. Is it a failure? Because I think there are any failure in the market. Um, and we will see how can Li-Fi become successfully, and I think that we'll see that Li-Fi will be a natural evolution of wireless communications. Just first, just like to introduce myself. So I'm photonic engineer MBA. So I created a startup called LiNA 5 years ago, and we're working on the Li-Fi solutions and specifically about access control and indoor positioning. If you remember, many times we heard about this is a revolutionary technology. We have many examples of that. We have many times heard about revolutionary technology, but it never happened. For example, we can say here the iPad. Here, when Steve Jobs launched the iPad, he said that it will replace all laptops in few years. But all we know today is that it's false. Now, iPad and tablets are only niche markets, and a laptop will still be better than tablets for our use. For example, Betamax. Do you remember all this? So it was better than VHS, but VHS gained the market. So also, it doesn't mean that if you are better, if you have better features, it's not automatic that you will success on the market. And also, there are other effects. You can come into the market too early. For example, Nokia launched some smartphones before Apple, 10 years before. But it did not work on the market. Why? Because in that time, people did not need any internet connection all the time. It was the beginning of the internet. It was really a good idea, but it was too early for massive adoption. And for example, I choose the electric car. First cars were electric, but we see just since few years good electric cars. So sometimes we are too early. For example, for Li-Fi, Bell, the photophone, it was a long time ago, and now we see Li-Fi more than one century after. And also, I remember when I was a child, we said that in the 20th century, we all get a flying car. This is the future. It's sure we will get it. It's like in movies. But now we all know that it will never happen in the 21st century. It's sure, because we need too much energy for using a flying car, and also it's too complicated to drive. So we all know that it would never happen, at least in this century. So that's why sometimes we talk about a revolutionary technology, but it fails. And maybe the last is very provoking. It's 3D, AR, VR, metaverse. It was a trend maybe a few years ago, and I think the bubble has exploded this year. Even Meta, Facebook, choose to decrease the staff for this market. So it means that okay, maybe it's not the future, because maybe human wants to live with humans. Maybe this is the key point, and that's why maybe metaverse will be only a niche market in the future and not for everybody. So, but what about LiFi? I think that there are some ingredients for having a technology which succeed on this market. I will not detail everything. For example, there are many weaknesses for LiFi. Okay, for the value proposition, we know, okay, it's quite clear. But I think there is strong weaknesses in user-friendliness and ease of use. I think most of the time we haven't, many companies haven't correctly analyzed the user needs, and they don't offer a solution which solve a pain point to user. This is the key of a market. If we solve problems, we get orders. If we don't solve anything, we just do fun things, but we don't gain money. And also, maybe another key point is cost effectiveness. We all know that LiFi systems are very costly, price are prohibitive for most of the users, because if we want to set at least only a room, it costs thousands of euros. So it's 100 times more than Wi-Fi. So it means that for getting what? Why I should pay 100 times more for getting more or less, in fact, the same thing, a wireless communication. So this is, I think, also a reason that there is still not a widespread use of LiFi today. And also, something very important in telecommunications, of course, the standards. If the manufacturers are not interoperable, it will be very complicated for for customers to buy your solution, because they would like to use their goods in every case. And if there is no standard and a spreaded standard, it's very complicated. So what's the conclusion with about 10 to 50 years on the market with the LiFi? I think that it depends the point of view. If we consider a technical point of view, it's a great success. We have very nice performance. We know that LiFi technologies today are better than Wi-Fi. We can get higher speed and the stability in the data rate. So it's technically better. But if we consider a business point of view, well, there are few customers, but there are some niche markets where companies can succeed when there is no alternative. Because when there is an alternative to LiFi, LiFi is not chosen. LiFi is chosen where there is no alternative. So there are few niche markets nowadays. It's aeronautical, it's space, it's military, it's some hospitals and so on. But most of the time, these markets are very poor, in fact, because if you want to sell your technology to hospitals, well, it's a bit complicated, because hospitals most of the time are not very rich. Also, if you want to sell it to schools, in France there is a law that forbids Wi-Fi into small schools, but schools don't have the financial means for buying this stuff. So it's a bit complicated for most of the time. But there are niche markets, and some companies can live like this. So that's why maybe it's not a real failure, but there were many failures. And I think there are also some bad buzz on some LiFi application because LiFi sometimes was deployed in unuseful application, so it created a real bad buzz on the market because most of the time it was launched and talked in everywhere in the world. Oh, it's the first time we're using LiFi for this application. Look, we are in the future. But few days after, we see that it was completely unuseful. So it was a real bad buzz at the end. And I think for a startup, these bad buzz are very bad. It's a strong handicap for us, I think. But I think we have to focus on these 5 points for getting a market. And for example, I think what we do can solve all these weaknesses we have in LiFi nowadays. And the key point of our approach is that we are using existing equipment and infrastructure. We all know that there is a strong weakness on this point because we have to change every device and to retrofit every infrastructure for getting a LiFi solution deployed. But it's very costly and too costly for a customer. So you keep your device on your desk and you never do any cash with this. So this is our approach. And in our approach, I think that we all have a smartphone. Yeah. How we can do LiFi with our smartphone? We all have an LED for the flashlight. We all have also many cameras because not only one, now it's many. Maybe I have 4 on mine. So these are photonic sensors, and with this we can send and receive the data from light like this. So, okay, how is it possible to do things with this? And finally, we can use light from sending data. Very low data rate, very, very, very low. Even I don't know how it's low, but it's very low. Few hundreds of bytes per second. But anyway, maybe it's enough for some useful use case. So what we do, we send data through the flashlight. So we are reproducing NFC. NFC is few range, few data. And there are 2 main applications of this. It's mobile wireless contactless payment and access control. Of course, for a startup, it's easier to start with access control because banking system and payment world is very, very small and led by 2 big companies. So it's a bit tough to start on this market. And why is it interesting? Is because if we use light for access control, we can do things better than other technologies because we all know the security advantage with LiFi, of course. And what is interesting in this case is it's that every smartphone is compatible with this technology. So we created a universal access control solution. And the trend, moreover, the trend on this market is that we want to use our smartphone. We don't want to use over cards, many cards, keys, and so on. We want to use our smartphone because we have it all the time with us. And also, we talked about this indoor positioning. We also work on OCC and so on. But we have already talked about this, so I won't explain it. Thanks for the others for talking this. I will gain time. Before concluding, I think that we need to create a present for having a future for LiFi. It means that we need to develop some useful application first for doing cash, for doing business, and this business will enable companies to invest in new applications, which needs many financial means. As we discussed previously, it needs many time, many efforts for getting the perfect LiFi technology as we wish. The cheap, very fast, very easy to use, converging with 5G, with other telecommunications. But we all know that the investment for this will be very high, and also we depend on few groups, BATX, GAFAM. We all know that the widespread use of LiFi for high-speed communication depends on these companies. So that's why I think that before having this future, we need to create a present. In the future, we will know that green will be a constraint for telecommunications. Dominic talked about this more precisely than I, so I will not discuss about this. We're very lucky because LiFi is solved three pain points. It's connectivity, high-speed connectivity, security also, and moreover in our military context, and also green context. So that's why for me it will be the natural way of telecommunication to spread more optical technologies. And I think that in the future we will get full optical IT and telecommunications from a quantum IT in the data center to our computer. Maybe the computer will be electronic, but all the pipe in the middle will be full optic. And I think it could be great as a photonic engineer. It means that I will have job in the future, so it's easy for me. Yeah. We can think that I'm not very confident for an entrepreneur, but I think that we need to have this realistic point of view in order to do the good choice on the market and being able to success on the market. Because when we are doing business, this is what we want. Some people have over subject. They want to do research. This is their right. But I'm here for doing business. Yeah. So thanks for your listening. We have just launched a crowd equity campaign. So if you want to invest, feel free.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your presentation.